Welcome to Good News Now, a weekly message of love and hope. We need to be reminded to see as God sees all things through the lens of beauty. Too often we admire a standard of beauty that leaves too much out of its definition, forgetting that life and its imperfections are inherently beautiful simply because it exists. Today, I ask that God will open us to perceive anew, inspire us to receive our surroundings with awe. Forgive us when we move through our lives and do not notice God's handiwork in all things, all people. I ask that God will know God with us on this journey as we seek again to marvel at God's works. Beauty is complex. We call something achingly beautiful when it creates a pathos within us, a sense of something so precious that we want it to last forever, from the plump cheeks of a newborn to the wrinkled face of an elder. But we are all mortal and not meant to exist in this bodily form forever. We were made from dust, and to dust we shall return. We open ourselves to the awe that is the beauty of life in between the first and the last breath. Jesus surely considered the lilies of the field as he invited others to do. Jesus saw beauty where others saw darkness. We can only imagine that he was one who paid attention to the creation with awe. After all, the Psalms were his prayer book. And if we consider the Gospel of John's version of creation, he was with God from the beginning, having been part of the divine Trinitarian collaboration on all things life, there at the beginning of light and darkness and sea and sky and creatures of all kinds.
So I think a lot about the contrast between banality and wonder, between disengagement and radiant ecstasy, between being unaffected by the here and now and being absolutely ravished emotionally by it. And I think one of the problems for human beings is mental habits. Once we create a comfort zone, we rarely step outside of that comfort zone. But the consequence of that is a phenomenon known as hedonic adaptation. Overstimulation to the same kind of thing, the same stimuli again and again and again, renders said stimuli invisible. Your brain has already mapped it in its own head, and you no longer literally have to be engaged by that. We have eyes yet see not, ears that hear not, and hearts that neither feel nor understand.
But we don't need to go heavily into theological musing to recognize in the accounts of the Gospels that Jesus saw and experienced the beauty and the fragility of life deeply. It was this empathy with humankind that leads him to the achingly beautiful moments of self-giving that lies at the end of our Lenten journey. Consider the moments of beauty between birth and death, from dust to dust. Know that our God came in human form to experience the dust alongside us. Imagine, as he lived this human life, he smelled the food in the market stalls. He touched the water of his baptism and felt the fabric of his robes. He saw the smooth faces of the young and the wrinkled faces of weather-worn, hard-working people. Jesus heard the voices of folks from near and far. All of his senses, like ours, were engaged with the world. That, in and of itself, is something awe-filled to consider. We can too often put Jesus on a pedestal where we don't think about his actual experience of this world. But that was the point, for the Divine One to know us, to know life, to know our pain and our wonder, all of it blessed, all of it beautiful. Awakening and surrender. They frame each day and each life. Between them is the journey where anything can happen, the beauty and the frailty. Be a purveyor of awe, curating a life of spiritual depth that inspires others to join you on the journey. May the Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer of all, the Holy One in Three, be with you now and throughout these days. Amen.
There's a great book called The Wondering Brain that says that one of the ways that we elicit wonder is by scrambling the self temporarily so that the world can seep in. You know, Henry Miller says even a blade of grass, when given proper attention, becomes an infinitely magnificent world in itself, you know. Darwin said attention, if sudden and close, graduates into surprise, and this into astonishment, and this into stupefied amazement. That's what rapture is. That's what illumination is. That's what that sort of infinite comprehending awe that human beings love so much. And so how do we do that? How do we mess with our perceptual apparatus in order to have the kind of emotional and aesthetic experience from life that we render most meaningful? Because we all know those moments are there. Those are the moments that would make Final Cut. Only in these moments we experience afresh the hardly bearable ecstasy of direct energy exploding on our nerve endings. This is the rhapsodic, ecstatic bursting forth of awe that expands our perceptual parameters beyond all previous limits, and we literally have to reconfigure our mental models of the world in order to assimilate the beauty of that download. That is what it means to be inspired.